we've given them the marker at halftime of a game.
Yeah.
So we're talking, the coach, we're huddled up outside of the locker room. If they have a marker and they go in, and you will be shocked. They know everything that you're going to say, or they see the same things. They're on the floor. So maybe giving them the marker at halftime before you talk and giving them that voice too.
Welcome to the Jamodi podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Today we are joined by the head boys basketball coach at Denton Guyer High School, Grant Long. Coach Long is in his 21st year of coaching, 14 as a head coach. Before coming to Guyer, he was the head coach at Sealy High School. Coach Long became the head coach at Denton Guyer in 2012 after being an assistant for the Wildcats for 6 years. His career record is 354 wins and 119 losses. He's led the Wildcats to 9 district championships and 3 regional semi-championships. They recently won the 6A state championship in 2025. Coach Long was named the NTBCA president in 2018. He's a 9-time district coach of the year. He's coached over 25 players who have played high-level college basketball. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast. The Jamodi Podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
Hey, Coach.
What's up, man?
Oh, man, everything's great. Couldn't be better.
Awesome. Well, I just thank you so much for giving up your time and coming on talking hoops with me. You're somebody that I've had just so much respect for over the years and really love what you do with your program. And you've always been so kind to me, giving me your time of day talking over the years. So appreciate it, man.
Anytime. I mean, I know what you're about, so I definitely respect that, and just love every conversation we get to have.
Tell me a little bit about what's your life like right now.
Really just getting prepared. We got a lot of guys coming back from last year's team. Got our point guard back in Jordan Lowry. That was at prep school. He was here as a freshman, sophomore, and went to prep school last year and then came back, which is a huge piece for us, kind of the missing piece. So we're expecting a big year and excited about the year. So this year, with so many guys coming back, really the fall's been a little different where a lot of stuff's already established where we can hit the ground in the little small period we do have. We can hit some basketball practice stuff, team stuff earlier than normal. So that's been nice, and the effort part and the competitiveness has really been there, which has been exciting.
What are some of the advantages to having new guys that you have to kind of start from ground one with the culture, how you train, how you do things, and then maybe some of the advantages of having guys that already have that down?
Well, I think a key to anything with young guys, new guys, if they're playing at the freshman level, you have to have a good freshman coach, and I was beneficial of having that for so many years with a coach named Aaron Roberts. He was the head coach at TJ in Dallas, and then here, and he was phenomenal. He's my varsity assistant now, and we got a new coach in, Michael Heineck, that's phenomenal too. So I think that position is key to really establishing that culture that you want in those younger guys. And we really don't treat them any differently than we do our varsity kids as far as we practice on Saturdays. They come up the legal times during the Christmas holiday, like they come up for practice, like they learn the expectations early. And then when we're blessed enough to have a freshman, sophomore on varsity early, those guys kind of jump in the mix, maybe learn on the fly a little more, but hopefully we've built great leaders to where they kind of see how it is. And we also hit them early too. So as far as even before they're in high school, the 8th grade, we invite them to open gyms even to meet the guys earlier. And then in the summer, they're already in the mix with us as far as going to our team camp, playing in TBC, all that kind of stuff. So just getting them ingrained as early as possible. And I really believe, I think we've probably both seen over the years, the X's and O's are such a small piece compared to the relationships and the buy-in and the culture part. And the chemistry, which is so underrated of building a team. So I would say that team building stuff as early as you can start it with those young guys is important.
And that was maybe, I think my thought or not worry was if I have a team that the main core has been here for years and the way that we start our fall is a lot of our setting our standards and just really learning how to train and how to. I think if the tendency, or I would feel like we've got that and we can go forward into some more things. And I don't know. I guess I'd be afraid of, for me, like slippage in some of those, because you just nailed it. The X's and O's part is a small part. I would love the fact that like a month or two in, golly, offensively, the concepts look pretty darn good. Like we look
Yeah.
pretty smooth. But I would just worry for me about missing some of those. What are some things that you've done to make sure that even though you're moving farther along than you would think typically, you're still setting some of those standards? And you kind of answered it with they've been set before in the past. But what
Yeah.
are your thoughts?
Well, I would say even though there's that desire to move along forward, like we still started with our defensive stuff, our defensive principles, all the way from the beginning with our breakdown defensive stuff and building it up from there. Not trying. I mean, we don't get near as much time as we want, but really trying to hit on getting skills in every day and making sure if you see the greatest in the world, like they're doing basic fundamentals, like for their warm ups, and just really focusing. We do a lot of the Villanova footwork stuff every day, and it has made a huge difference as far as playing all 2 feet and making better decisions. And one thing we hate is turnovers because we feel like we're pretty good offensively and we can get shots up, and the more we can get up, the better in that aspect. And just taking care of the ball, and that's helped a ton.
I think you nailed it right there with playing off of 2 feet. And I would encourage any of us that have maybe last season had higher turnover count, look back over those, especially in huddle, the way that you can almost take, that one category, click it, and all of the clips move over. Go through those turnovers and chart how many were off of 1 foot at the wrong time and just demonstrating a lack of control. Coach, I don't know what the percentage is, but I would say it's high.
It's probably just as high as the over dribble leading to a bad shot or something like that. So I think
Or
those are my
attacking
top. Those
single
are my
gaps
top
leading
two.
to a turnover. Yeah.
100%, 100%. So yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
You've been at Geyer now. This is your 18th season or 19th?
This is 20.
Oh, this is 20. So your bio online, Coach, is about 2 years old on the Geyer website. But
I would say the problem is our booster club has a new website and probably
I was looking at an old one. That's probably
maybe
what it is. But so fifth year, and then how many as a head coach at Geyer?
2012 was my first year as the head coach.
All right. So 14th year?
Yeah.
Man. So with all of that experience and being at one school for the same time, you have it's a big school for those that aren't in the DFW area. Big school, great tradition athletically, and I would imagine you're putting in a lot of time with your players and opening the gym. But what daily habits set you up for success?
Me personally, and really with my coaching staff, we really kind of work out together. I would say kind of an old personal workout, pushing myself. Anything I'm going to ask the kids to do, I still, even at my age, I try to do. I'll get out there and
Coach, you
show them.
cleaning? You hang clean?
No. I mean, a little bit on my own, not with the kids or anything, but
Yeah.
but no, we're still working out, trying to stay active. I think for me personally too, kind of a daily prayer. Praying is big in my life, and then also reading, finding books to read too that just challenge me or just give me ideas for different things. I think are kind of the three biggest things I could think of habits I like to do. I have a few guys that send me daily devotionals or different things that we'll read through. So things like that for me.
I've been up to your school before, and even throughout the gyms and the locker rooms, and sometimes you see verses posted and definitely some faith-based ideas. Being at a public school, how do you weave and work that in without it being something that could possibly jeopardize your position? And is it a community thing? How does that work with you?
For me, I don't force anything on anybody, obviously, but I kind of let them know where I stand on things. I mean, a ton of our kids here have their own, have really nothing to do with me, have their own Bible study groups and invite their teammates to do that kind of thing. And they will go to church together, or do different things like that, which I love. But like I said, I'm not going to force anything on them. And then as far as kind of the verse thing, we have a outside organization, NTBL, that has the basketball league that they run a lot of stuff up here through Michael Eddy, and he was used to be an assistant of mine here. So a lot of that comes through that organization, and that's on there. I mean, there is school policies about not having signs like during school and all that kind of stuff. But we respect the rules and all that kind of stuff. But like I said, I think all that I can do is just lead by example, what I believe and what I think, and without forcing it, but just always being there to talk if they have any questions.
I think you nailed it. That's what Jerome Tang talked about in one of his press conferences, was about his faith, but the fact that he doesn't have to walk around with a Bible and, hitting people over the head with it. Or
Right.
even talking about it. The best way that we can promote our faith is just by how we live, how we serve others, how we show up, how we talk. And then I agree with, if I was ever to go back to public school, I think I try to do it like you, where people know who I am and what I stand for, but there's not a playing time requirement that means you have to have, but respecting everybody's positions, but trying to show it really just through how I live, not necessarily just what I say.
Yeah, and also that it's a struggle for me too. I'm far from perfect, and I sin like everyone, and so they see that I just show that I'm not perfect, but this is what I believe, and this is how I can be better.
Yeah, the Christian life isn't, we're never going to be sinless on this side of heaven, but the goal is to sin less as we grow more and more in our faith. And at least that's the goal for me, man.
Me too.
So we talked a little bit about the culture that you have early on in the freshman group, and I like the fact that you give so much ownership to those coaches, and they really sometimes set a really good foundation for those guys. I would have to imagine that the example of your guy was with you for 2 years, went to a prep school, and then came back. I think that has to show a positive culture, or something that your school that he wanted to be a part of again. How does culture drive performance in your program?
Yeah, I think that's happened with a few different kids that we've had here, which does, I think, speak to that. I will tell any coach, like, as bad as you want to be upset about them leaving or all that stuff, like, do not burn that bridge. And like, we are here for the kids, and if they think, if they think this is a better opportunity for them, or if they think something's better somewhere else, then I never want to keep a kid from that. Or like, we've already lived our high school dreams, lives, or whatever, made our decisions. So they have to do those, live with those, and we'll support it. And we've always been like that. But I don't think there's very many programs that are going to love you like we'll love you here and provide you with every opportunity to get better.
I think when those guys leave, that's really when our why is tested. Our why isn't really tested when you're winning and everybody's happy and people stay after the year. The why is tested when you're losing. The why is tested when you have those parents that just have maybe lost their perspective a little bit, or when guys leave, because I've been guilty in the past of just taking it so personal. Like
Right.
It's an attack on me. But you're right. I have to divorce myself from the situation and step back and just see that they're hearing whatever they're hearing, or whatever opportunity they think they have. Man, it's their choice. And if my why is really just to impact the kids that God puts in the gym for me that year, then tip my hat, leave the door open, like you said. And I've had some really cool experiences where a couple years ago, a guy left, and then after a game the next year or 2 years later, randomly had a knock on my office door about an hour after our game, and it was him. And he was just saying, "Coach, I wish I would have stayed." And I didn't like, yeah, I told you. Like, I told you that was good. No, but it was one of those, I wasn't mean or harsh to him when he left. Told him that I'd always be there for him and wish him the best. And I think that he was able to walk back in, repaired anything. But I think that's really the goal with it, right?
And I'll say this too, like, it's not 100% of the time. Sometimes they're going to leave and you're going to be 9-15, like, and it's going to be a tough season or whatever else. But most of the time, I think kids are going to surprise you, and other kids are going to step up. And I really think that happened for us last year. We had 2 kids leave, and really kind of a question mark on what that team was going to be. And it was a 25-win team, and really came together. And guys stepped up that I was like, I mean, it was just I was, you believe in kids, but you're like, wow, he had a great year. You know?
My belief wasn't necessarily
Yeah, right.
where
Right.
you went. Well,
And then
overachieving years to me are the ones that are really fun. And last year's group for us was like that. Thought they'd be good. Never thought that they would win the games they did, how they did it, and offensively the team they became. It was really fun to see. And I would imagine those are some of those years where we really get those coaching paychecks, when things from the outside looking in early on maybe didn't look so great, but as a team you figure out a way, and those are great wins.
They are.
But then maybe, Coach, the art of it, or where your passion comes through, is what if you lose those players and you do go 9-15, but you feel like you did your very, very best? Are you the same for those guys during that season, or checked out looking towards the future, frustrated more because of what could have been? I don't know. I think those moments when we're tested is when we find out really who we are in this profession.
For sure. It I will say that is a test. And luckily we haven't had to have very many of those. But when
I don't want to be tested every year. I'd like to have a few.
Exactly. But no, I mean, even those years, like, you still have great kids that want to give everything for you, and you can sleep fine at night. Even if you're frustrated about wins and losses, you're giving everything you have, and those kids are, so it's okay.
What's your advice to those coaches? And I may be asking for myself as well, that during those tough years, the sleep part, the stress, the worry, even in golly, what was it? I don't want to try to sound too smart here, but there is a stoic that Ryan Holiday mentioned it, but he said, just don't stress about unknown futures. Like, you don't know what district is going to look like a year from now. You don't know about those things. So why are we stressing, 8 months before? But what's your advice to those guys that are going through that maybe during a tough time?
I can promise you that the worry's wasted, but we can always say that. Like, I mean, if you're not in this situation in the moment, it's tough to just say that. But there has not been one season, no matter what, that anybody else remembers or cares about except for those guys in that room, your coaching staff and those players. Like, those are the only ones that it means anything to. So, like you said, no matter what the record, what the situation, you want to try to give your all to those kids. And that's all you can keep doing, even in those frustrating situations. I don't have a ton of advice on the sleep because I'm not great at it. When I'm thinking about something, that's probably one of my faults too.
I think whenever I'm not sleeping well, I mean, for me personally, I've got to look back at my walk. Like, I'm probably not in the Word as much as I need to be.
Yeah.
Or maybe there is an area of sin in my life or something creeping up that just really has me stressed out. And that's something that I always just look at. When everything seems to be going wrong, how am I doing in that area of my life? And maybe for guys that's not something that is big or important to them, which, okay, it could also just be making sure that you're eating right, working out, like you said, getting that alone time to continue to grow ourselves, whether it's reading good books or listening to great people. And I think that could be helpful.
I heard a guy speak, and he said, going back to, like, when you're making decisions, before you're making that decision, you say to yourself, what do I want my story to be? And if this decision is going to make your story where you're not proud of it, or you don't want to live it, or whatever else, or that's not what you want to be about, then don't make it. And I think that's something that I try to think about and live by. And not to say there's not chapters in my story that I'm not embarrassed about, that aren't exactly how I want them to be, but we can always change the ending. We can always make the ending what we want it to be, if you have struggled with anything.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that there's definitely jobs out there, especially at the level that you're at, where if you don't win, maybe that year, but probably the next year, if that continues, You may be having to look for another job. And that's a pressure that is real and coaches feel from time to time. But I think even in those moments, we've got to remember that this is our job, but it's their game. And I think sometimes the fact that it's our job, we are providing with for our families through this, and it's something we're passionate about, and it's what we do. It's not their job. I wonder how many times, though, we steal the fun and suck it out of the gym and make it is serious, and we want them to pursue excellence, but it's not their job. Maybe one day it will become that. If they play in college, it'll probably feel like that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's so hard and not to. If you're not having fun as a coach, your players probably aren't having fun. And then have we lost perspective on it?
Yeah. And that's even as an older coach, like, I think you have to continue to celebrate the wins, celebrate the thing. Like, as much as I loved last year, I looked back and there was probably only one win like we really celebrated. Like, out of all those, and I was like, man, we got to celebrate wins more. We've got to appreciate those things more as a team, and I have to make sure as a coach I'm letting them know, just as much as I am critiquing whatever they're doing, whatever else, I'm giving them just as much praise and confidence in themselves.
I think I love that reminder, and I think appreciate that from you. I think we have to look for milestones throughout the season. And because I try to be a process-based coach, and we talk about let's just be 1-0 today. Let's win today. Like all of those things that some people think are cliche, I think they're really, really important. Let's squeeze. Let's get the Navy SEALs say, let's get the full benefit of today's workout, which means we've got to be completely all in with our feet. All for that, coach. But there are milestones throughout the season. So like at the end of our fall workouts, the Friday before the Monday where our season starts, we run a separator, which is 20 suicides or lines in 20 minutes. I heard it from Cal Pari years ago, and it is challenging, but then it's more of just now it's like a rite of passage. But we also it's Jersey Day, and they can wear any NBA college jersey they want. Once district comes, we have a Jersey Day. Once, if we make playoffs, we have a Jersey Day, like once we secure a spot. And I've forgotten over the years that this milestone means this, and the players remind me of it. Hey, coach, we wearing jerseys tomorrow because we did that. Like, if the players are wanting something and reminding you of it, and it's not something negative, then that's things that we need to continue to do and celebrate, because I think what it'll do is help us through that grind that maybe as coaches we love, but players, I feel like they want change and need to keep it fresh. But that's just something we do.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Some different things, like just on the topic that you said, like we started every season with a type of boot camp deal. With all these, there's probably, I think we had 8 to 10 different running challenges outside and inside that are absolutely brutal. Like,
coach, you jump in and do those with them?
I'll do one. I gotta do the first one, but just say I can do this.
Yeah.
But as hard as it is, and they get through it, and they get through it together. I have altered it a little bit over the years just because the hamstrings and the quads and all that stuff. We want to take care of them, but I'll be danged if every guy that comes back talks about it and loves that they did it. Like, and I tell the guys all the time, like, you will never regret anything hard you've ever done. Like, any bit of hard work you ever put in, and just any time our effort is slacking at all practice wise, it's going to be a running thing. But they really bought into that. So that was a thing that I'm surprised all the time. Then another thing, kind of a team building thing, and this is, as a coach, this is brutal on you, and I hate doing it, but I do it every year for them, is we have a lock-in, and we sleep in the gym, stay overnight, and they talk about it forever. And they, like, if I ask them right at the end of the year, what's your favorite part besides staying in a hotel at a tournament or something, like, they love it. And I mean, my back hurts for a week, and I'm on air mattress on the gym or whatever else. But we'll bring our kids up here. Our coaches can bring their families up here, and it's just a family culture thing. And I already got a text. Coach wants to lock in this year. And it's just something they love. So just something small that I think we have to put ourselves in situations, which I have fun when I'm there too.
Yeah.
But put yourself in even uncomfortable situations sometimes, and it'll mean more to them than you even know.
Can you give me a few examples of what you do or some things that are happening at the lock-in? Because I've wanted to do that for a long time and just never have. And I think
we have
go ahead.
We have Promethean board, like the Promethean screens or whatever. So we have those set up all on one wall with where they have NBA 2K, whatever football video game, whatever sports video games they bring. And there's probably at least 3 of those going at one time. We always have a very competitive kickball game
Nice.
in the gym. There's been a few hide and seek challenges in the gym, like throughout the school area, gym area. It was kind of in this area that have ended in the alarm came on by itself and the police show up, kind of deal. And
that's what I was thinking. I was like, that doesn't sound like a good idea. But
you gotta be keep them in the gym, and you gotta make sure the alarm stays off. But I mean, they just we have drinks set up or whatever else, and really just spend time together. And we've done different challenges or different deals, and then we always try to come together and have a little message sometimes and talk about why we're here, what we're doing, and
do they actually sleep? Do they actually get to sleep at that?
And I think normally by 3 a.m. maybe they're asleep, and we get like the time we're leaving at 6 a.m. So you can sleep when you want, but you're going home to get your bed at 6 a.m. So so normally about 3 to 6, I would say there's some actual sleep that goes on.
Coach, the Grapevine Faith first annual lock-in. I think I'm gonna pull the trigger on it. I've wanted to. I
don't know. I mean, just when you start it might not stop. So just make sure you.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Anything with basketball that you do at it, or is it just completely?
I mean, they get the ball out and they do play, and we'll play some. And
I thought even lower in the basket because, Coach, majority of our guys need the baskets lowered.
I mean, I think that'd be a great idea. If you can lower your baskets to 8 foot both ways and have a competitive game where they can do some high flying, that'd probably.
But you're right, though. All of those games, kind of like the same as your boot camp, in the back of my mind is injury. How is this? Our starting 5, man, we looked really good, and then boot camp took 5 of them out. I just that stuff does worry me, but I think I got to get past that.
Yeah, well, I have changed. Now, I will say, like, we've done the boot camp a long time, but I have changed to where now we have strength coaches here now that are awesome and take care of a lot of our stuff. So I've kind of let them do the conditioning part too, where now our freshmen coming in, they still have to go through it. But our older guys that have already been through it, it's more of a, I guess, college traditional conditioning type build up.
Yeah.
And it's instead of doing it all up front, it's kind of consistent throughout. And it's been really good.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Scoreboard Media. Scoreboard Media works with high schools across the country to run professional sponsorship programs on their LED scoreboards. Whether you already have LED and you just want to supercharge the revenue, or you want to use sponsorship revenue to buy new LED video scoreboards, Scoreboard Media can help. They work with sponsors and advertisers locally, regionally, and nationally who want to connect with your school's community. Email info@scoreboardmedia.com to start the conversation and see what's possible.
So you have strength coaches that are at your school, employees. How do they work in with other sports? Is basketball with other sports, or do they work those guys out by themselves?
We have our own time for basketball, but we have 2 strength coaches. One does football, baseball, I think, and then the other one does kind of everything else. But we have our own time. We're very blessed in this because it all used to be us doing this part of it too.
Yeah.
So not taking that off of our plate has been huge for us. But we have had way fewer injuries as far as that since we employed those people.
Not that Performance Course needs a plug or a shout out, and they're not a sponsor of the podcast, but when I was at McKinney, we used Performance Course and loved the idea of, I think some of us that played or like to work out, like we can work out. Like it's not like we're going to the gym. We're like, what's this thing? Like we can know, but do I really know how to build a workout for a teenager? Do I know how to have it like progress through, with loads and things? No. And so getting me out of the strength coaching game was really good.
Yes.
But when I came to faith, there wasn't this idea of, oh, why are we hiring an outside group to come in? We already pay to go here.
Yeah.
You know, so it took a few years to get them in, but having them here. So if your school doesn't have a strength coach, like you guys are lucky, but there's a lot of schools that do have them in house. I would look into something like a performance course where, and another byproduct of that too is they can take them before school. They teach them how to lift really well. They have that mindset in the feel of like a college strength coach, and then the culture piece also that they build. That there's a lot of it's synergy with ours, and we get to be on the floor during the period every day. So 43 minutes of skill work 5 days a week because performance course comes in. So maybe it's just a reminder for coaches, instead of giving up 3 days a week, because you do need to lift, but 3 days a week during your court time to get that in, get somebody, hire somebody and bring performance course in, figure out a way.
I was glad UIL changed the strength and conditioning where we could do it outside of school on that part, so we didn't have to run cross country or whatever other tricks we did before to get strength and conditioning in. But yeah, they're a blessing. But I agree with you 100%. I don't think any coaches I know are giving up the court time. It's just too essential. It's more essential than anything else. So that's been huge, and I would agree with you. The performance course or whatever it is would be awesome.
Just seeing, because we did hit the culture building activity. Is that what the lock-in would be?
Yeah, but I'd also say not only culture with your team, but also with your coaching staff. Every year we pick a group of colleges to travel to, and I know a lot of coaches do that. But we're very blessed and lucky to have. I got 3 other straight basketball guys. Now they help out with another sport, but they're basketball guys. So building that culture with your coaching staff, and if you're at a smaller school that doesn't have that, like I would go to some other smaller school coaches and go somewhere together just to learn, build, grow together, anything that you could use for something else. I think we're going to go to Colorado this year, Denver, Metro State, Colorado School of Mines this year, but we've been to Duke, North Carolina, Indiana, Butler, Michigan State, Notre Dame, UCLA, USC, Loyola. Like we've been all over, and I mean, just the camaraderie and the stories that you have with each other is huge, and that really makes it easy on the coach to really find out about your staff and trust them with having your freshman guys or whatever, and really using their skills to better your program.
I think the whole time throughout that trip, you as the head coach, you're teaching them or sharing the standards of your program, the why behind what we do, and because you can do that while you're watching a practice. Man, I really like that. But I think with our guys, this is why flow works maybe better. You know, or is there something here that we can't take? I think those kind of conversations are priceless. And, you know, for us, I think I'm relying on really our one coaches meeting at the beginning of the year because my guys are part-time. I'm relying on that one meeting to set the tone for the entire year. But a trip like that would be worthwhile.
And I was going to say, it also, for me, because I'm blessed enough to have my staff is very experienced and I had Mansour Corey for 16 years, and I learned more from him than he learned from me. I promise you that. I mean, he was from Boxell, you know, and he was a stud. He's another varsity coach right there with me, varsity head coach right there with me. Like I said, Aaron was a head coach before, so I can pick up things from them just the same, if not more.
This may be, if this is too personal, it's fine, but to me, one of the challenges with that is just making it work. Like, how do you make that work within your budget? Is this a booster club thing? Is this something that the school helps out with? How would you encourage coaches to go about maybe getting something like this going?
Yeah, for us personally, we've kind of started the outside tournaments, leagues, all that kind of stuff, kind of as an outside entity. So it's kind of separate from the school. So I just use that to cover it all. Yeah, and that's not always possible for guys like you know.
But like you hear. I talked to some coaches, and our booster club, like we got $60,000 in our booster club, so they let us do that. I'm like, golly, like after I get 10 basketballs, coach, that's That's my budget. All right,
Right.
guys. Don't break anything because we're screwed if that happens.
Hey, especially these times,
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking for too, are ways for that, because our budgets are getting less and less, and things are getting more expensive. So just getting by with that stuff, and you
Here's
got
something. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Now, here's something I've never asked before, and it's never come up, but fundraising. And maybe that's a question to throw. Coach, this may be a first. We came up with a new question on the fly, but what are some fundraising things that you do that really helps your program to bring in some funds that can bless your players and families? That I think a lot of people would be interested in that.
Well, for us, like we do have good kids that are financially stable in a lot of aspects. So we do the, I guess, email, text messaging fundraiser. We've used Uptempo, team funded, different ones. They take a small percentage out of it, but emails go out to all their friends, family, all that kind of stuff. And for us, we can normally make between 10, 15,000 in doing that. So that's one. Our freshman JV tournament is a fundraiser for us. So we host a tournament here that we get some funds. The only selling thing we do, our kids sell popcorn. I mean, everybody eats popcorn anyway. So I think we made a few thousand doing that last year.
Nice.
I think those are the main three things that we did. And then selling some business ads for the scoreboard and different stuff like that. But we've normally fundraised at about 20,000 a year, I would say, on average, just from doing those things. I don't like to do too many. Like, that's pretty much it. We don't do anything else besides that. And we've gotten by with that. It's been good.
I'd love to hear a little bit of the standards and pillars of your program. You've made playoffs every year, and you've won 9 district titles. Is that current, or is there more now?
We got third last year, so no more.
Okay.
That's
all right. So, but 9 district titles in the 14 years that you've been a head coach. That's pretty incredible. What are some of the standards and pillars of your program?
Actually, it is 10. We won. It is 10. But anyway, I mean, for me, when we have our parent meeting, I make sure they know that God comes first in my life. The next thing is going to be family. So the family culture, the family atmosphere, like I want that to be a pillar, because I want our parents and kids to know what we think of first. And I think you get tested with that as a coach when something comes up with their family, things like that. You have to be, I mean, if you're going to talk the talk, you have to be okay with them, and support, certain family things. Now, what's family, like what they can use as family, I would definitely let them know or kind of talk to them about.
My second cousin is
right. Exactly. Because you will have to deal with that. And then education in the classroom, obviously we talk about that big, and we haven't had many, situations, but we let all the teachers here know. You let us know immediately if there's any problem in your classroom. Like, we want to take care of it. And then basketball after that. So that's kind of the biggest pillars as far as just overall program. And then as far as basketball wise, I think some of the pillars are going to be toughness. Like, we always talk about the toughest team is going to win. If you're a talented team and you're not tough, especially in the playoffs, you're not going to win. And then commitment and sacrifice is one. Togetherness is one we preach. And then the last one would be compete. And that's just kind of encompasses everything and encompasses everything as far as in practice, in games. Like, you have to play this game, you have to be a person that wants to compete and loves to compete to be successful. So those are kind of the basketball pillars that we stand by.
With the classroom, I've gone back and forth of how involved I am with weekly grade checks. Here's a sheet. Make sure you get this filled out. Give it to me by Friday. If there's any zeros on it, you're going to have towel pushes. And I don't think that's bad to do, but I've also then taken the route of, especially maybe at a place like Faith where basketball is third or fourth on the list, like academics is pretty important to most of them, and their parents are super involved. So the teachers really need me also giving them something else? But I agree with you. The players know that anything coming from the teacher, I'm automatically listening to them. And you're not going to get me versus the teachers ever. So we're on the same team. But I've taken the approach of, your goal is to take care of your stuff And if you don't, the consequences, you don't get to play through taps. What are some of the things that you've done maybe to, you said you let the teachers know, but is there anything else that you've done to have accountability with your players?
I'm in the exact same boat. I've done the grade check thing. I've done those things, but I think sometimes when we do those things and we give them ways out, or we're the one doing it, like it takes away all the accountability from
I
them.
think we're enabling. Yeah,
Yeah,
enabling a little bit.
100%. So I've gotten completely away. Like when I'm talking about talking to the teachers, it's strictly behavior. Like grade well, whatever you fail, or you're not eligible. Like that's on you. You let your teammates down. I mean, you have to deal with all those consequences, whatever they are. And we haven't had any. Because I think they just take care of it. And I mean, I do. I check it in just randomly, and I might say, "What that? Well, what's going on with this?" And they might, "Oh, coach, I wasn't here. I got to come make it up in stores." Whatever the reason is, but they've taken care of it. And I think when you let them to be accountable to something, if they mess it up or fail, it normally happens once, and then it doesn't happen again.
And I think it's an important lesson for them to go through. Maybe that player, that person, needs to fail in that way for that wake-up call, because maybe they're one of those by giving they've been able to just get by enough, and it finally caught up to them. That, golly, coach, there's so many things in life.
Yeah, they always expect there's someone to come, hey, you need to do this.
Yeah.
I mean, that does not happen in life.
It doesn't. And I think super important for us to be on the side of our teachers. Not that we're against our players. The side thing sounds bad. But even if I feel like the teacher might have been able to communicate something better, maybe the timing of the project or the expectations weren't how I would do it with the player, it's always going to be whatever the teacher had established, and we're going to go with that. And there's not going to be like, I'm sorry, Mr. So-and-so, he's just, we got to be careful with that. But then I don't know how you feel about this. I don't mind disciplining basketball players during basketball for things that they do. If second period athletics is a class, I'm going to discipline them for being 1 second late, for wearing the wrong thing, when a coach is talking or something, for not standing still. Like, I'm going to discipline those in those standards that we have. I don't really enjoy disciplining them for someone else's classroom. And so, not that I ever tell a teacher, don't come to me with that stuff, but I do always ask a couple questions like, what have you told him and what have you done with him so far? Like, I want to know, like, is this the first time that you're seeing this? Have you addressed it with him? And then I always say, too, have you had a conversation with the parents? And it kind of lets me know a little bit of, like, really what kind of situation are we dealing with here? Is this so bad that you've already had to talk to his parents twice? And this, okay, I'm going to have a conversation with them. And if none of that other stuff's happened and they still want me to take care of it, I will. But am I off in that?
Well,
go ahead.
On your side, you're right. We might be enabling the teacher.
Yeah. Hey, listen, classroom discipline, don't worry about it. I got it in basketball. Like, I don't know. There's a part of this job where you're going to have to be the bad guy. And we all take that, just like parenting. There's going to be times where we tell them no, and that life's not fair, and that there's consequences. But I'm going to do it within the realm that I have them. But that doesn't mean I don't care about how they behave there. But I do want there to I don't want to feel like there's some type of teamwork happening here. I'm not just bad cop for the entire school. But man, that may not be a very popular way of thinking about that. But I always felt like when I was at McKinney High School and I had taught 5 English classes a day, Coach, I never went to the football coach to discipline. Now I can't make them run or do towel pushes in the classroom, but I can give detentions. I can call parents. I can give zeros. Like, there's things that I can do, but it's uncomfortable, and I have to see them every day knowing that they don't like me very much. But sorry, go ahead.
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe that's the thing is we talk to the teachers do have to try other avenues first, and then we can help out. But our culture has always been like, I love hearing the teachers talk about, oh, the basketball kids are so well behaved. The basketball kids are like, they do what's right. They like, that's what we want our program to be about. So that
And I want to go back. I'm not promoting that basketball doesn't care about anything else in the school and
for sure.
what they're doing there. But I don't want to be just the stick. I don't want to be the stick that just hits every kid for everything, because there's also different levels of, like, I mean, what were they doing? Like, what was the infraction? Can it be taken care of there? Or is this like, are we being very disrespectful to the point where maybe it's breaking some of the standards that we have in our program? Because what we don't want, coach, is our standards just to be about basketball and on the floor. We want our standards to be about who we are and how we do things and how we show up. So maybe my way of thinking about that might not be the best. I'm all for partnering with teachers and helping them. I just don't like to be the first line of defense for them.
Yeah. I think if we show them we support in whatever discipline that they have, I think that's huge. And that's with my own son. If he's screwing up, like most of the time, I don't care what the situation is. I'm probably going to be his fault. But I mean, I walked into daycare when he was little one time, and I walk around and this teacher's getting onto him, and she sees me and she stops. I'm like, no, you go ahead. Like like I'm in full support of whatever you're doing. So just really supporting those teachers in whatever discipline they're trying to give, I think would be great.
Kind of change gears here. What's a rule change that you'd like to see and why?
This one's easy for me. Shot clock.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That was easy for me. Now, I mean, I know all the both sides to it and all that kind of stuff. But I just think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I think it'd be more fun to coaches, the 2-for-1, the different strategies behind things, and the having to play, and then just the preparation for college of how they're going to have to play.
Coach, you had me at fun. You had me at fun. And I think that's not a reason that's really discussed that much for having it. People talk about quick decisions, teaching them how to play, to make plays happen, to not be able to stall, things like that, and overall improvement of maybe skill work. But I do think it'll make coaches better. Because we're going to have to not just rely on sets exclusively, but on the backside of sets, how do we get into space and how do we create, instead of at the end of every shot clock just calling for a ball screen. Like have something that after that quick hitter, all right, guys, we're right into attacking the world, stay away, whatever it is. But ultimately, I think it will be more fun. And I don't think that's a bad motivator.
Yeah. And I'll always say on that, like, it's not like if a bad team's stalling on you, like, that's not really that big deal. You can trap, do whatever. When a good team does it, it's really dangerous.
Wow, yeah.
Really dangerous.
They don't talk about that much either. They always talk
about the
inferior team.
Yeah. You got to be a great coach to get a good team to do it, because especially today, like, they want to run, they want to do it's not, I would have to give all the credit in the world to any coaches that got the kids to do it.
I'll give a shout out to Cole Johnson at Legacy, Frisco Legacy. 3 or 4 years ago, he had a team, and they had just won it. They had won it the year before, and they were playing Westbury, Houston Westbury, which is typically really good team, really athletic, a lot of length. And they went to this, what he calls, it's a 4-corner, 4 to score, but 2 guys come up, 2 guys deep. And these 2 at the top are handling it, moving it, and waiting for you to play too aggressively, and they attack. And they had the control to either finish or kick for an open shot or whip that thing right back out. And they completely neutralized they were a good team doing it. It wasn't like this is the only way we can do this to be competitive. They probably could have gone toe-to-toe speed-wise, but they ended up, it just completely changed how the game was being played. But that's what I thought was the amount of control that it took for those talented players, not just to go, coach, come on, let us go. They bought into it. And I think maybe that's the art of whatever style of play that you're running. Can you get your guys to truly believe in it? Or is there this friction between what you want them to do, what they want to do? Man, when we can get those 2 things going on the same page, that's fun.
You nailed it. That's 100%. We both know, whatever you do X's and O wise, like, there's so many different ways to win in this game X's and O wise. It's, do they buy into it and give everything to it?
How do we assess that?
I think it'll be little things. I think it's just little things that you see in a timeout.
Yeah.
Are they speaking like you watch the? I'd encourage anybody to watch the video, the Villanova Jay Wright when he talks about attitude and how the North Carolina game, the North Carolina hits the double pump or the pump three to tie it, and the guys are coming over the bench saying attitude, like they're speaking it. So I think things as little as that you're going to notice and you're going to pick up on, and you want guys that are speaking up and talking, obviously, but they're talking your language, they're talking your culture, they're talking your team. So,
I think another way too is ask them. Like ask them, hey, maybe I saw an action that the Warriors run because I typically love almost everything they do, and I put it in the next day, and I'm watching it, and I just ask them, guys, how does this feel? Do you like this? Like, does this feel? Well, a coach told me like we want our players to feel comfortable and familiar with what they're doing. That doesn't mean there's low effort or low energy, but comfortable and familiar. And if they feel that way, then they'll be able to execute and do the things that we're asking them to do. But I would ask them, and if they go, coach, I'm not comfortable with that action when I have the ball here. Well, coach, I just don't think we're going to get anything from it. I don't know. Maybe you run it a little bit more, and you can always override when you ask them questions, and they need to respect that. But, man, how they feel on the floor, Coach, you and I won't shoot a lick this year.
We know that the player-led team is going to be so much better. And this is just on an inbound play, but Tyler McGuy, Jacoby Coles, they came up with an inbound play, and we scored more points on that inbound play than any play ever in the history of us coaching. And they did it. They call it all the time, and it was. I mean, they believed in it, and they ran it to a T.
This isn't something I've ever done, but I've heard of people doing it, and I'm wondering if you have. Is after the summer's over and they're kind of getting back around, asking them, hey, who has a really good out-of-bounds play that you ran this summer? Who has a quick hitter that you did? What's something defensively that you guys went to in a pinch when you needed to get a stop, maybe out of a zone, you were in a squeeze action and you trapped it on the way, whatever. Have you ever done anything like that?
Mine has been more of what comes to mind is just every time we go talk to coaches, like trying to get their best that they've had. But I love the idea of your players. But our players, even the same as the inbounds, like they have come up and said, hey, coach, we ran this. Or I've asked them, hey, what'd y'all run this year? What'd y'all do in this? And they would say, and they would know. And if it worked well for us, we tried. If not, then we wouldn't. But I like what you're saying. Just giving them the power
here's
to.
The marker. Here's the marker. Draw something that you've done. And we want them to be students of the game. How often the only opportunity they're able to be students of the game is when we're watching film or we're yelling at them. That's their only two times where they're students of the game. What if we give them the marker? And this obviously isn't in big moments, but in practice or in that downtime, dead time throughout the season or the day. And we ask them, I think you can learn a lot from what their answers are.
We've done something like that I think is kind of what you're saying, where we've given them the marker at halftime of a game. Yeah. So we're talking, the coach, we're huddled up outside of the locker room, but they have a marker and they go in and you will be shocked. They know everything that you're going to say, or they see the same things. They're on the floor. So maybe giving them the marker at halftime before you talk and giving them that voice too.
Coach, I love that. You're probably way better than me in this, but I can be stubborn and I can think this is the way, especially because of all of the years in the past that we've done this. So we're not going to deviate, and I'm blind. Like I don't even realize my own blind spots to what adjustments could be made in the game. And a great example is we did a pressure 3-2 for about 3.5 years where we didn't run any man through playoffs. And we could move our wings up and we could pull them back in Randall Durant's zone. And I love it. And it's still in our repertoire. But second game of the year, team was shooting pretty well and shredding and moving it, and they were in dangerous spots. I love when teams, and this is just my opinion, I love when teams against our zone, I like when they try to move people around.
Yeah.
Because when they move people around, the ball has to sit and wait for those people to stop moving. What's harder is when guys are in dangerous spots, they don't move, but that ball just whips because we can't respond quick enough. But man, the moment they get a new guy in the
while
middle,
they're cutting, you have time to.
Yeah, we're good. So we're struggling. And at halftime, AJ Pace, the senior, says, "Coach, what about man?" In my heart, I'm like, oh, we haven't guarded man in 3.5 years. We do a couple little things like talking about it, but not. What the beauty of the zone is, we can spend almost all the time on offense. We teach those principles. Teams aren't used to it, but we did it, and it tapped into a level of competitive spirit in these guys that I didn't know was there because I didn't even try. And we became almost an exclusively man team, and that was a team that overachieved. If the player doesn't feel like he's allowed to make that suggestion, if there's a fear of, hey, I'm the coach, see the difference between the two, and we can do that without even saying that. But I think when that kind of culture is there, and I mean, golly, coach, like, what's the worst that happens? You let them try it, it fails, then hey, I got it. Maybe it sends a good message, or you have a game or season-changing idea. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think, like you're saying, us just taking a step back and be able to listen to other people. Like I was a Kenny Huffhard, Todd Sutherland, Charles Braddock, 90 press, read, rotate.
Read and rotate.
Probably what I teach the best, and we'll still run it. But I mean, I've had like Coach Robertson, Coach Corey were phenomenal man-to-man coaches, and just seeing the success we had with that, like doing like that, that's what we primarily do. So being able to listen to others and see, and then, but also having everything you could go to, because like I love it when, I guess I can say on this, I love when teams on us. We got guys who can shoot the ball, and if we're comfortable, probably not good. So
another thing,
I just feel like even with inferior teams, we've had a chance to win games against that.
I just think a zone against us is I always tell our guys it's a license to pull even faster.
Yeah.
Like, guys, listen, just here's the good news is we're going to find a 7 for us, an open shot within our range even quicker.
I would say like there's that for zone. Like it's important too to have, because there's like we couldn't guard Plano 2 years ago.
Yep.
Like there's no way. Like we had to.
And there's an idea, and that's where I think the 3-2 was really good for us, was we play against 2% of their playbook. Like that's all we're playing against here, fellas. Right. We're playing against the thing that they spend less than 5% of their time on. And because we've all done it, hey, zone offense, let's run through it, click, click, click. Oh, yep. All right, moving on. Is that really enough? And especially if you have some wrinkles to it, like, golly, at TABC watching Jimmy Smith's zone that he runs at Trinity and how they guard the middle. Just with how they guard the middle would take, to me, practices to really get comfortable with seeing, because when you're a big and you catch it and those dudes run away from you, and all of a sudden you're here at 15 feet and you're invited to take one of the worst shots in basketball or try to attack, and that's not really your thing. That takes time.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of our guys having confidence from that.
I agree. I think I think we know that as coaches, and as you get later in the season, like we do spend more time on zone stuff if there's teams that do zone, just because of that purpose. To be able to
I think another good activity too, and you kind of brought it up a little bit, was have your friends watch a game. And not obviously not guys in your district or even maybe on your level, but if you got, like, I've got a buddy that's a state TAPS coach, so there's really no way we ever run into each other. And so I'll say, hey, I'm just want to know what your thoughts are on what we're doing, because sometimes we're too close to it. We don't see it with the right perspective or the right lenses. So for example, is years ago, I was just all about, I have my Grinnell books up there, and there's just something about that system, coach, that
It's appealing.
It just rings true, especially as a high school coach. Like, we're going to play 15. Everybody's going to run a gun. You're going to just try to break records. It's not about winning. It's about that. Like, I love that. And then you realize that your best players really want to win, and you can't do that. So, and that's not bad. But we're put in Grinnell, and we're running a gun and averaging 94, but like losing some games. Like sometimes our opponents are going for 105, and we're losing some. And so I sent it, and I was like, Coach, can we watch this? Like, what do you think, man? What do you see? Like, and I was expecting maybe some compliments of how great this is. And he was like, hey, I get what you're trying to do. You just don't have the horses to do that. Wham! Like gut punch in my stomach of like, here I am as a coach in charge of the plan for our team to have success, and it's the wrong plan. But you won't know sometimes unless you have somebody that's not in it give you that objective, well, maybe subjective, but their view of it.
Somebody that can be honest with you. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
There will be. Not trying to sugarcoat anything.
Are you ready to level up your team skill development? Well, Bology is here to support you in driving accountability and skill development. The Bology app is more than just tracking. It's a resource for enhancing skills, knowledge, and mindset across your program. Join coaches all across the country using Bology to simplify training and empower your athletes. Let's build consistency, accountability, and skill development together.
Absolutely.
Okay, last thing before the speed round. What is one thing that makes your program different?
Maybe more programs to say this, but our gym is always open. Always. Like, we are blessed to have 4 coaches, so there better not be a time where we can't come open the gym. And I'm telling you, this thing is always guys shooting. There's always guys playing. And like I knew, like, we had done some special things when a couple things happened. You have guys coming back from college or even after college and coming to play and coming just to be around, just to talk. We got Jalen Wilson, NBA. Nice. We got Davion Harmon at the Knicks G League. Like, those guys are still coming to work out, coming back, giving back, all of those things. And I walked to the gym, and there was 12 Division I players in there, past player, whatever they were playing, and the friends of theirs were there, and it's competitive. And I'm like, this is the vision that we had, like, coming in. So that, and then the other thing is, there was a night, me and Coach Corey and Jacoby, Davion, Jalen, it was like a 5-way FaceTime, them just calling just to talk or whatever else, and talk about memories, talk about whatever. And I was like, this is the culture. This is what we wanted to be here. And I think just always providing, especially players like that, and really every player, the opportunity to get better. You have no excuses why you can't become the best you can be, because this thing will always be open. And there's guys that we have a guy right now that is in here every single day and every single night. So you got to be able to do it.
I love that. Was it that way when you first got there? Was that already established, or did it take time to get there?
I think when the school first opened, it was you got kicked off a team in another school, and we only had freshmen and sophomores.
What year did Geyer open up?
2005.
Wow. Okay, so not that long ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 2005 it opened, and it was definitely I got here the second year. I was the varsity assistant that year, and it was a hard time. Like it said, kids that had gotten kicked off at other schools and things like that. So you're dealing with a lot of discipline and effort before you can ever get into X's and O's or coaching anything. So just a while to build up where you're not as much having to coach the effort part and the wanting to be here and all that part. But I think it was just perfect timing for me. The first year of a lot of hoopers that were in the gym, just straight hoopers, and they were in there. They were good, and they were becoming there was 5 of them. They were becoming juniors that year that I took over, and it was just up from there. It's just been constantly a mix of good players, and I feel like a good family culture that kind of had us where we're going. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of years and games I play in my head where I feel like we've underachieved, and those failures definitely stick with you. And there's no doubt that I feel like we should have banners already and things like that. And you're going to have that as coaches and all that stuff. But like I was saying, the guys coming back to the gym and the FaceTime calls, and that's another thing I would encourage. Just speaking about that is even when your kids are gone, guys that go play in college and guys that are air conditioned man or work on ACs or whatever, like you keep those relationships and keep knowing that this is a home for them. This is a place they can come back to if they need anything. But it's been awesome traveling around watching them play at the next level and getting to be more of a fan. Now it's hard to get the coaching part out where you still want to say, hey, you need to do whatever, but really just enjoy the game, enjoy them in that way too has been awesome. They really know you care about them and love them.
How many gyms?
And there's going to be some tough times. There's going to be some tough situations in their life. You got to be there for them. So,
and I do think that's the part where the hope for all of us is that whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 years, that it's not just that commitment. The commitment is, and especially like at Faith, we have a saying: if you finish the program in the right way, and the right way to us is even if you come for 2 years or 1, that's rare, but if you finish the right way, then once a lion, always a lion.
Yeah.
And that phrase means something, and you get things because of that. You get to come to the alumni game. You get the Tuesday text. You get to be on the wall in the locker room. You get photos on your birthdays for the rest of your life. So it's like, but part of that is the commitment from us that this isn't just a transactional deal. What can you do for me now? We're trying to partner with them, be transformational for the future. Quick question: how many gyms do you have at Geyer?
We have 3.
Okay, 3. So working with fall sports like volleyball, or and then maybe do you have rentals at night and things that you have going on?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So how is that process with making sure that you have a spot?
Well, I keep the main gym open for our guys, no matter, like it's booked. Like it's our main gym is for our guys to shoot and our girls to shoot, and that's it. So
where's volleyball go?
Volleyball. I mean, we have the 3 gyms. Volleyball could be in there too if they want to. If volleyball, we take into account them first. So
yeah,
if they want to have people who want to stay after, but we normally don't have any rentals start until after 6 that we allow. So 6 or 6:30, maybe even 7 if volleyball had something. So that's never really an issue. But it's most of our youth teams that rent it out come in probably 6 or 7.
All things after school, or do you open it before school as well?
We've done the shooting club where we're opening at 6 a.m. There, we called it Rat Gang. This was kind of Coach Corey's deal, and he had T-shirts made that are awesome. But they make this many. They make 1,000 in the first week. They get this yellow shirt. It's got a bunch of graphics on it. But if they
like that idea,
then it starts out. Then it starts over. You got to make 2,000 or 1,000 2 weeks in a row, and then you get the orange shirt. Then you start over. You make 1,000 shots 3 weeks in a row. You get the red shirt. Then it was blue, and it was. I mean, he's got the funniest graphics on him ever. So they loved it. And then he did a deal last year that was get 10,000 makes in 1 week, and he had had the shirt made with the old Master P chain, and like it had 10K on it, and like it was pretty funny. But just things like that he was great at, and the kids love it, and it gets them in there. So at Geyer, we have a lot of kids that have like a dismiss period. I'm not sure if everybody gets that, but if I have an off period or whatever, they have dismissed, they come get their shots then. And so we try to get 1,000 a week. We have a Google Doc they log their shots on, and if they're bad, if they're not great at getting them in there, whatever else, we try to remind them, and we'll have some reminders every once in a while if we have to.
Coach, the speed round. These are going to be quick questions. First thing that pops in your head, blurt it out.
All right.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
I'm a chocolate guy.
Greatest shooter of all time?
Steph.
If you have one, favorite superhero?
Don't really have one. I guess the Hulk I'll go with.
All right. You can always pass on any of these if it doesn't work, but Hulk is one of my favorites. So, I think you know for sure if you're a Hulk Hulk guy or not, but
Yeah. Probably. I mean, he was like me and my little son had this conversation, and there was probably three in there. So
yeah,
that I was going with, and I really couldn't put one above the other. But
man, that's a fun time, especially if you have boys and in that range where they're dressing up, they're pretending to be. You can watch the same stuff, and it's like you're really into it too. That's awesome. Top 3 dinner guests you'd like to have any time period. We'll take Jesus out of it.
Okay. Top 3 dinner guests, and it can be all time, even if they're dead, alive.
Any time period. Yep.
Okay. This is the one I needed. I needed to prep for this one. Definitely Jordan. Michael Jordan would definitely be in my dinner one. But thinking outside, Maxwell on leadership, the author on leadership, I think would be a good one. I really would like Pat Riley.
Interesting. Yeah.
Just a lot of his motivational stuff and just a lot of questions I would have for him, I think would be a good one.
Think of the decades and the types of teams he was a part of.
Yeah.
The way the Lakers played to then almost the opposite transformation with the Knicks. That's fascinating right there. Yeah. Like a great example of you can coach different styles. You don't have to sell out to one.
And he's been so involved with the Heat, like it just be like just seeing that deal too.
I like that. Best basketball movie of all time?
I guess the Hoosiers for me.
Favorite holiday?
Christmas. I have a big family and come from a split family, so it is my 5 days is nonstop travel, and that part is tough, but I love seeing all of them. We have a great family.
You're up 3 on defense with 5 seconds left. Do you foul or no foul?
I've gone both ways, but what I loved is this quick story. Jalen Wilson in the Kansas game, I think in the national championship, Bill Self said, he was like, guys, should we foul? And Jalen's like, no, we got it. We got him. Just like we said earlier, like the players, like what do they believe in? And I think it's something you definitely talk about early, and then you just buy into it and do whichever one you decide as a team. I know Boeheim fouls every time. And lately, I think we have gone with foul and take it out because we have gotten beat on some, or tied or beat on some, or tied on some, I guess.
Yeah. How about that though? The guts as a coach in that moment.
I know.
To ask, because see, like my AJ story, this was the second game of the year, halftime, had no bearing on anything. But that game, to ask their opinion, you got to know your team. I mean, they're all Americans, like they're awesome, but that's incredible.
Yeah, that's why. Self, Coach K, all those guys are the best.
Yeah. What book would you give someone?
I love the Jay Billis Toughness book. I think that's a great one. Has a ton of stuff you can use. The latest book that I've read is some of the David Goggins stuff, and I love his mindset, work ethic. I would hesitate to not enjoy. Like I think we're doing this for some enjoyment, and the toughest part for me when I read his stuff is like, yes, we don't ever want to be satisfied, but we do want to celebrate and enjoy things, and that's one thing I never see in his books.
Reading John Wooden book right now, and there's just a little quote in it. It says, "We want to be easy to please, hard to satisfy. Easy to please, hard to satisfy." And I like that idea, like, because if our players feel like it's never good enough, or for even ourselves, it's never enough. What's your why? And do we? I think the hardest things for players is to have a coach that they don't feel like they can please. I don't know about you. I feel like majority of players are pleasers and want to feel like you are proud of them and their hard work. But then the moment they do something right, that's awesome. Now let's get more dynamic.
Yeah.
Like I think that's how that could work in. I like that though.
I try to sell, like, how like we all as coaches love somebody who'll put their body in there and take a charge, and how pumped up we get for that. Like I try to look at myself, how excited I get for that, and give some of that to some other things that they do as well.
That's a good point. 2 more. Favorite place to travel?
I love to travel. Hawaii, Lake Tahoe are both awesome places. We just got hit by a hurricane at Riviera Maya this past summer. But I'm kind of now to wanting to do a lot of my traveling with my kids. And so I'm thinking of the Grand Canyons, Yellowstone, like all those kind of kid places that I want them to see, and honestly that I haven't seen. So I think those will be fun. That's kind of my mindset right now.
That's good. Last one, probably the most important in basketball as a player. Who is the GOAT?
Jordan, no doubt.
I mean, he's in your dinner. He's on your got the Jordan poster cut into 5 spots, kind of spread out. That's awesome. Yeah, he's in your dinner. He's at your dinner. How can he not be?
Not perfect, but God, the most competitive and most skilled and clutch. I mean, I can say a lot of stuff. And I mean, I'd say if you wanted my top 3, I'd go Jordan, Kobe, then LeBron.
That Kobe LeBron order is interesting.
Yeah, I just I told you my pillars are compete, and I feel like those 2 were the most competitive.
And I do think at times that's the knock. That's the knock on LeBron. I can just remember the moments, especially with the Heat, that he deferred. And there's moments like, you're the best player on the floor. Like, this is your time. I thought with the Cavs he did that.
I do appreciate him.
Yeah.
I mean, Ed got in trouble.
But the GOAT conversation doesn't have to be he was a saint as well.
100%.
That's not what we're talking about. I think favorite and GOAT are also different.
Yeah.
But, Coach, this was awesome, man. And, very, very few X's and O's. But you're one of those guys I've known for a long time. And I've always admired your program and how you do things and wanting to know how. It's not what you do, but how you do what you do. And I felt like I got to learn a lot more about that. So just really appreciate you, what you stand for, and for giving up your time.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate your time as well. And I would just tell coaches, even as you're getting older, like, know that the things that you did building that matter. And there is a pull that's like, does this really matter? Do we really need to do that? Like, keep up with the fight and keep doing those things that matter. And I think we get to do all the fun X's and O's stuff, and that's something that we love to do and love to talk about. But with these guys, I've just found, and it's not always about it.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.